mga kaibigan, and welcome to another episode of In My Toolbox. This is your weekly talk show exclusively right here on PHLV. Tonight mga kaibigan, we will delve into the realms of finance and business. Of course, exploring pertinent topics aimed at providing insights and guidance. Mga kaibigan, it's crucial to emphasize that while we offer expertise here, we are not legal or tax advisors. Therefore, the information shared here should not substitute to any personal advice tailored to your specific circumstances. Mga kaibigan, always seek the counsel of qualified professionals before making any significant decisions. All right. My name again is Enrico. I'm an economist, financial expert, business consultant, and entrepreneur. Stay connected with me through PHLV Radio or Facebook, or drop me an email at enrico.inmytoolbox@gmail.com. All right, mga kaibigan, let's dive into our topic today: how gambling affects your life. Tamaan daw, wag magalit. Just kidding. How gambling affects your life. So, gambling, mga kaibigan, can affect many areas of your life. Sometimes, we don't really look at it that way because, of course, some people will think that, diversion ko lang to, or, just something to do, I'm retired. Whatever it is, right, guys? I just hope this topic today will make some clarification of what gambling or how gambling really can affect one's life. Again, as I mentioned a while ago, gambling can affect many areas of your life. Let's talk about, the main thing that it can affect you. It could be your finances. Okay. So the question here is, are you spending more than, you want on gambling? That's the first question. Or are you struggling to find the money to pay for your bills? Or are you taking out loans to cover gambling debts? So, a financial crisis, mga kaibigan, is often what brings a person to address their gambling. It's also very uncommon for partners, friends, or family members to tell us that they did not realize their loved ones were experiencing gambling harms until there were seriously financially, the consequence of finance, such as maybe there's a court or a court summons, or because there's non-payment of debt, or there was a repossession, of your car, or any action, or a repossession on their home, etc. Financial problems, mga kaibigan, can really mount up, and it can be more quickly than you realize it happening. Bills don't get paid, credit cards are maxed out, debts are accumulated. Let me repeat that again. Bills don't get paid. That's why I asked the question a while ago, are there bills that's, unpaid? And then how's your credit card looks like? Is it maxed out? Or have you been, accumulating debts left and right? Payday loans, when you look at payday loans, it looks like it's a solution for you, but these things, they have high interest rates, and because of the high interest rate, they can make your situation more worse. Borrowing, or, sadly, some people, they steal from loved ones, businesses, or employers. This happens when people will feel increasingly desperate. It may feel as though that there's no chance of repaying your debts unless you carry on gambling. They see gambling to be a solution to pay off their debts. We hear from many people, who feel completely trapped by their financial situations. Continuing to gamble, mga kaibigan, I know you know this, will only make debts bigger. Clearing debts gradually, I know it will take a while, but in reality, paying your debt, it's the only way to manage the problem. So many people are experiencing gambling, that is actually harmful, and have not let anyone know about how much they actually owe. It's not that everybody needs to know it, but the worst thing is somebody has to know at least, right? And it can be daunting to take the step and tell people that people that you trust about your gambling situation. But it's essential if you are ever going to take control and improve the situation. That's very essential. Think about, contracting maybe a specialist not-for-profit debt advice agency. There's a lot there. You can just Google it. Or if you're gambling, unless you get it under control, you'll find it difficult to get out of debt and then stay out of it, because sometimes people can get out of debt, but then they find themselves getting into debt again in the future. So it will be so important to take steps to address your gambling, period, and then your debt as well, right? Period. So you may want to look at, these agencies or, companies that can help you solve that gambling situation of yours, especially it's affecting your entire finances. Another thing that you would look at how gambling can affect your life, it could be your mental health, And then according to a group of psychiatrists, people who gamble at a harmful level are more likely than others to suffer from low esteem, develop stress-related disorders, or to become anxious. They actually have very poor sleep or an appetite. They develop a substance misuse problem and to suffer from depression. So in these things that we're talking about, mga kaibigan, we might as well look at getting some advice if this is actually starting to concern you. So there are some questions that you need to ask, right? Are you experiencing all or some of these things? Number one, are you experiencing some extreme emotions or mood swings? So have a thought, try to think about it, extreme emotions or mood swings, or are you experiencing that, that you feel that gambling is the only thing you enjoy to the exclusion of other things? Because some people, I like gambling and I like other stuff. But this one now, you're just very focused on gambling. You enjoy it up to the extent of excluding other things that you can enjoy or do as well. Are you experiencing using gambling as a way to deal with other problems, or dealing emotions in your life? Or are you experiencing some difficulty in sleeping? Or are you experiencing feeling depressed or anxious? Or do you have suicidal thoughts? So if you think that you have answered yes to any of those questions, gambling could be a problem to you. If you're not sure how your gambling is affecting you at this stage, there are online self-assessment about gambling that may be able to help you guys, right? So although a lot of people, that gambles, they actually gamble to escape feelings of depression or other mental health problems. Gambling can actually make this condition worse, if I may just say it. Right? So if you gamble a lot yourself, you may have found the high of anticipating the big win to be very mentally involving and extremely exciting. Perhaps, mga kaibigan, better than the feeling you experience taking part in any other activity. So you may also have found the devastation of losing to be a massive low, leading to feelings of despair. Is that how you feel today with regard to gambling? So this is especially the case when large amounts of money are being staked. How do you feel when you look large amounts of gambling? Is it increasingly, is it increasing the potential of, for a massive high? Is that how you feel? Is it, oh yeah, this is a high for me? But, also this thing makes the low feel worse when it comes. So is that how you feel right now in terms of gambling? Feeling or loss and despair following a gambling spree can actually lead to a greater desire to gamble straight away in order to try and get back on that high. However, mga kaibigan, if you continue to gamble, any negative feelings will only get worse and worse and worse. That's what it is. So the impact of these highs and lows on your mental health can actually be significant. We may not see it if we're into it. That's the reason why we're talking about it, that there's such a thing as a highs and your lows when you are into gambling. And then studies actually show the brain chemistry and cell structure can be changed by this type of exposure, the highs and the lows. And the system of rewards in the brain can be affected, where previously you might have found pleasure in other activities such as food or maybe even sex, or you may now find that this don't hold so much appeal to you because you're so engrossed, you're so focused to gambling that you get that kind of joy in one thing and one thing only, which is gambling. The good news, mga kaibigan, is that studies actually have shown that brain chemistry can be rebalanced. You can actually get away from it, and everyday life can start to feel good again, like as normal. And again, you need to, this is the time that you need to get some help. Speaking about getting help, right? This is how gambling affects your life too. Getting help. It is important to speak to professionals. If you're worried about the impact of gambling on your mental health, your GP may be the first person you need to talk to. And then from there, you can actually be referred to some specialist out there, that can actually give you the service, like a consultant, right? If your GP actually feels that you need this kind of help. If you're not registered with a GP or a PCP, try to look for one right now. So if you're so concerned about gambling, mga kaibigan, there's a lot that you can actually look online that you'll be able to find to help you get out of that situation, right? And another thing that how gambling can affect your life, it could be, of course, gambling itself, and sometimes people have these suicidal thoughts, because research has actually shown that there's actually a link of gambling harm and the thoughts of suicidal, and then more than double the amount of people that's been affected by gambling harms, they actually say that they have considered taking their own life compared to those who are not affected by gambling. So there's actually a correlation. So mga kaibigan, this is not just to scare you. This is just to let you know that there's such a thing. At least we are aware. But you have to make sure that you have this self-assessment where you are at, if we can still do at this stage. So on a diet, on something that as often as a downward spiral from gambling, it can actually continue unchecked for a long time. Feeling of isolation can grow, and it can seem as though there's actually no way out because you're so engrossed in what you're doing already. So if you have self-harmed or had these suicidal thoughts or feelings, it's really important to seek professional help as soon as possible. Mga kaibigan, ASAP. Because in extreme circumstances, gambling can actually kill. So having said this, mga kaibigan, there's actually hope. You just have to make sure that you have to acknowledge that you need it. You have to talk to somebody, a loved one, and tell them how you feel. And support usually helps reduce this kind of thoughts. And treatment for gambling problem is very, very effective. So mga kaibigan, these are some things that it will actually affect how gambling can actually affect your life. It can affect relationships as well. Experiencing gambling can be very, very harmful and can be very all-consuming, and as well as the effect on the gamblers themselves. It can have a very devastating impact on their relationships, with people per se, So let me ask you some questions. Do you recognize this? Arguing more with your partner or family, especially about money. Think about that. Or are you being preoccupied with gambling and finding yourself having difficulties to focus on other things? You're now spending less time with people and more time in gambling. Gambling can be, can eat a lot of your time, right? Are you starting to lie to your friends and families about your losses? Hey, how much did you lose this time? You lost $1,000. No, I only lost $10, right? Do you find yourself that way? Or some, worse is stealing money from friends or family because you don't have money to gamble with. These are just signs that gambling is becoming a problem. And your friends and family may feel like you don't care about them anymore. If all your time and your attention is taken up with what? Gambling. Can you imagine, you ask a loved one, or somebody asks a loved one, where's your dad? Where's your husband? Oh, he's out there gambling. All right. The emotional distance and tension this creates can be devastating in the long term, mga kaibigan. So lying, breaking promises, constantly missing important events can actually mean your loved ones, they lose trust in your relationships. And this is very hard. I'm telling you, this is very hard to repair. So your loved ones may also start to feel guilty about the situation, especially if they do not realize that you are gambling. They may think that they are doing something to drive you away. Gambling in a family can also have an effect on children. Try to assess your family right now, the impact of stress within the family unit. The potential loss of relationship with a parent, can actually have a lasting consequence. Mga kaibigan, this is a very short show. What I'm trying to tell you here is there is really an effect in your life because of gambling. So, you may need help. Once a gambler seeks help and enters recovery, there can be an opportunity to reestablish those broken relationships. Rebuilding trust can be a difficult task. That's very hard. But relationship can actually heal once a gambler enters recovery. Breaking that addiction, if I may use that word now, guys, is a very difficult process because recovery from where you are, it takes time. Not only that, it's hard work, and it really is. You need to have a commitment. So if you feel that you have a gambling problem or that it may be a loved one, you may want to look for help already that can provide support for gamblers. You may be a friend, you may be a family member who are affected, and definitely these professionals can help you and the family. Another way of gambling affecting your life, you will find yourself in isolation. Many people who gamble, report that they get a sense of community from the environment they gamble in. Can you imagine that? They sense a sense of community from the people that they gamble in. For example, the betting shop. They get to know each other there, right? Or people they talk to online. It can be that community. When someone is experiencing gambling harm, they can lose interest in maintaining personal relationship, careers, or hobbies. Because they're very preoccupied with gambling, and they can suffer from social isolation. That's what it means. Right? So regular sometimes, doesn't have any appeal because they have this, what they call again, the gambling high. Just what we just mentioned a while ago. So arguments, there's arguments there. There are strained relationships, failure to meet their responsibilities. There's alienation, isolation, separation, divorce, physical or mental abuse. This can actually all impact someone experiencing gambling harm. The person gambling may isolate themselves due to, some people, what do? Nobody's actually so proud of saying, I'm a gambler, right? But maybe some, but the guilt or the shame attached to it, or maybe perhaps because they have borrowed or maybe stolen some funds, because of their gambling, and it can begin to feel like there's no way back, from where they started, or maybe, we call this normal life. Mga kaibigan, there's really a lot, how gambling really affects one's life. But for me, I'm just letting you guys know, since we are here in Las Vegas, there's a lot of gambling here, right? The number one here is you have to identify first if you are in that situation. And how is it affecting your life, your family, your friends? I hope this actually helps you a little bit, mga kaibigan, how gambling can affect many areas of your life. So just to give you all this list, it can affect your finances, it can affect your mental health, it can actually, affect you because gambling is correlated with suicidal thoughts. It can affect your relationships. So in all, guys, if you feel that you're in that situation, get help. So hanggang dito na lang po, mga kaibigan, right? So it's a very short this topic this week. Up until next week again, mga kaibigan, you're listening to In My Toolbox. This is Enrico Pobre signing off.